Okay, we're
All
off.
right.
Woo.
Hi, it's me, your fairy godmother, and her fairyling.
What are your names?
I'm Samantha. There's like a Techna from Winx Club. Okay, that reference too.
Okay. And I'm sitting pretty, Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear right company.
Woo! But we are in Sweden today, so no Räkantopani, but
Something Swedish.
lots of gay stuff still.
Say something in Swedish?
Yeah, say something in Swedish. IKEA. I don't. No.
Swedish meatball.
Hey.
Hey means hi.
I don't know if the people who are watching this can tell we're related, and so she's doing this on purpose.
And then hey da.
Okay, well there's something.
Hey da, goodbye. And I used to know stuff in Swedish, but now I don't. So I can understand it better than I can speak it, Mom.
Damn.
I just wanted everybody to know how talented my baby is.
I know Norwegian, not Swedish. I'm sorry.
All right, so welcome to this session of Awkward Parenting featuring an awkward friend, Mason.
Hey, thanks for having me here, guys.
But no, we are in Sweden because we are reviewing Young Royals, which airs in the US on Netflix.
Yes.
Wait, I wonder, how do you say Sweden in Swedish? Is it just Sweden?
I don't know.
Or do they also say Sverige?
Okay, so Mason, would you like to give us a synopsis of what it is we're watching?
Yes, Young Royals is about the young Prince Wilhelm. He is not the crown prince, that is his older brother's title, but he is a prince of Sweden, and he gets into basically like a bar fight, like a physical confrontation, and it's really bad press for him and his family. So his mom's like, get out of here, kid, go to boarding school, learn to boarding school stuff. Basically, he just goes to this boarding school, and it's about the people he meets there, the boy he meets there, and trials and tribulations along the way.
Yes.
I'm realizing this show is basically just the intro to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, just with a boarding school. I got in one little fight, and my mom got scared. She said, "You're moving to a boarding school in Sweden."
Not as catchy of a song.
The show is very short. It's 6 episodes. I think each episode is like maybe 40 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. I got through it yesterday like that.
Yeah. So it was pretty quick to watch, but it was interesting to be outside of our kind of Asian bubble because one, I'm going to shout this person out very specifically. Aggie tweeted and said that she thinks that this would be a great show for Mason and I to watch. She seems to really love the show. And most of the time, our opinions and Aggie's opinions are not too far apart. And so I went into this thinking, well, this is a European production. This is going to be really, really good because a lot of the Asian boys love that we watch, no shade to anybody, a lot of them are money grabs. A lot of them are like, oh, boys love is hot right now. Let's make a boys love series to capitalize on the interest. This show did not live up to my expectations of what I thought I would be getting out of a Western production that felt like it was specifically geared towards the boys love crowd.
Me either.
And I wanted to make sure Aggie knew that we only watched this because you suggested it, and I'm very let down. So you're gonna have to eat that.
I mean, it wasn't a bad show, but I think
no, it wasn't a bad show, but it was a mediocre show. It was absolutely middle of the road.
I was sort of expecting it to be mediocre.
I wasn't. I was expecting better.
It's
a bad sign.
It's
a bad sign. Go ahead.
There you go.
It's a bad sign that I was totally invested in the villain for the entire series.
She was the Stan.
Team August all day, every day.
No, he sucked. I hated that man.
too.
I loved him. I thought he was the best. Because he was the only character that was fucking interesting. But now your turn, Mason.
August was interesting. I love a good villain. I think Young Royals was overall pretty solid. I think the main character doesn't have like a huge character change though, which I thought was interesting. Like at the beginning, he's like, rah, 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 I'm a party guy. I'm gonna butt heads with people. And then he gets to school and he's just like fine with it and is like this the whole rest of the show, which was interesting. Whereas like I feel like August definitely had more angst and inner turmoil going on, which led him to do bad things. Whereas Wilhelm just like had some bad shit happen to him, but he didn't really do anything bad or like noteworthy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the main characters are boring in this show, guys. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I probably could watch an entire show just about Simon, just because I find his family dynamic interesting and I would like to know more about that. But Wilhelm was the most boring, sad sack, ineffectual person ever. Like it was to the point where I was kind of like, maybe August should kill Wilhelm and then he should be the next in line to be king.
Mom!
He moves more like a king. I really was very let down by our main characters.
You're like, August is the drive of a king, a true ruler.
Like a Henry the Sixth or Eighth.
Okay,
so
he's
like that type of king.
So I didn't understand why it was that in the very beginning of the show they established that August is royalty, but he's not like next in line to be king type of royalty. And I really don't know the relation because really all royal people are cousins. Like all that European monarchy, they're all cousins because of just years of inbreeding and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know how close a cousin they are. But I'm like, Wilhelm is not meant to be king. And it's not even like he's not meant to be king because he had a rough 2 years. He's somebody who like, I feel like his family neglected him. And that's the reason why he can't be king because he just doesn't have the training to be ready for like all this.
Ooh. He's too milquetoast. He would have a hard time making any political decision.
Yeah. Like, so Willem, when we first meet him, it's at this club and all these people are taking pictures of him. And I guess he's feeling kind of like claustrophobic and hemmed in and he's getting annoyed and the music is loud. So some guy like grabs his arm to, I guess, get his attention or whatever, grabs his shoulder, I'm not sure. And he turns around and headbutts this guy and it starts a fight. And of course, everyone had their cameras out to begin with when he walked into the bar. So it gets video recorded or put on Instagram and it's like a national scandal. So at that point, his family is like, you have to give an apology to the world and you're going to have to go to this private boarding school. And I remember thinking then like, okay, even if you aren't next in line for the crown, you are a royal and you do have some value, even like just ransom type value. Why would you be in a place without any kind of bodyguard or any kind of like undercover protection and get so overwhelmed by the scene that all of a sudden you're just headbutting people? Like, are you new here? This is stuff you should be used to because from the time that royal people are young, they're pushed into the public eye. Like a lot of you might not be familiar with the UK's royal system. And trust me, I'm not either. I'm American. But there's this thing that they talk about the fact that when you're a royal, you're always on show. You're never not in the public eye, even if it's just you and one other person. And like the moment that a royal is born, they're shoved in front of the camera. When Prince Harry and Prince William were infants, their mother had to leave the hospital like 2 days after they were born and stand in front of the hospital steps holding her baby out for the press to take pictures of. Meanwhile, she's probably wearing a huge pad to catch all the afterbirth. You know, like there's just from day one, you're meant to be used to kind of this overwhelming wave of attention and admiration and people who want things from you and just you learn to be more closed off and to move more discreetly. And for him to get to the point where not only is he fighting in a club, but people could get close enough to him to be able to grab him and then him react, there's a problem there. And so it was just really like your family doesn't give a fuck about you because they should have trained you early on how to not get caught up like this.
Right.
And it continues throughout the show. Different things happen throughout the show where I think to myself, your family really doesn't give a fuck about you because you keep having these reactions that a normal person would have in this situation rather than the reactions that a royal person would have in these situations. And it was a very frustrating watch.
It even comes up in the last episode, the conversation he has with his mom. She's like, I didn't tell you who sent the video because I knew how you would react. You would react like this.
Yeah.
And he was pissed. He was screaming.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And it was even more crazy to me that so spoilers for everything. About midway through the series, actually maybe about 2 episodes in, is when his brother dies. His brother was the crown prince next in line after the mother to be the king of Sweden. And what happens is his brother is driving fast and he gets in a car accident and he dies. And Willem is going to be the next in line to be king. And his mother sits him down after the funeral and says, it's different because I've known my whole life I was going to be queen after my father died, and your brother knew his whole life that he was going to be king after me, so he was prepared. You were not. And so it's going to be hard for you because you're going to have to change everything about yourself. And my thought was, okay, there's this old saying called the heir and the spare. Like most of the time kings like to have 2 children. That way if one dies, there's another one in the background. Even if you aren't meant to be king, you're always kind of supposed to be prepared just in case the inevitability comes when you are like 3rd in line to the crown. Now, if you're number 57, you're like, I'm never gonna be king. What the fuck? I do what I want. But if you're like number 3, you're ready. And so it just doesn't make any sense that his mom wouldn't have been like, hey, you need to know the ropes just in case. Why would you wait until the inevitability has finally shown up where now you're in a pinch? Why would it be then that you're like, okay, now we need to prepare you to be king?
Yeah, 16 is late to start king training, it seems.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Willem, he never really got it. He never really got it. And I mean, I don't know that he will. I'm assuming they're going to have a season 2 of this because it was really popular. But season 2, he's got to learn how to be a king.
Yeah, maybe that's what it'll focus on. He's got to learn to toughen up a bit.
Yeah.
He was just like a small piece of paper, just nothing.
Yeah, he's very easily manipulated. He's not very cautious at all. He believes people with whatever they say as soon as they say it. He's very wishy-washy. Like he just seems like he's so caught up in like his personal tragedies that he doesn't really think about like the world around him and the impact of everything. There were times in the show where he would run off, and I remember thinking like, it's so easy for you to run off, even though you literally have bodyguards standing outside of your room. What if somebody wanted to kidnap you and get ransom from you, and you just don't even think about that's a possibility at every turn? It was very frustrating. And again, I blame this on poor writing. I really blame this on poor writing because the actor was doing a serviceable job, but the people who wrote this script just weren't thinking enough to be like, this is what would really work for the situation.
Right.
And so they wrote something that felt implausible and made William feel ineffectual.
Yeah.
So it was really tough to watch the character. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do have Simon to look at.
Simon by far had the most interesting like dynamic with other people in the whole show. I really liked him and his family. I love his mom. I thought she was a sweetheart. The sister, when she was like getting all agitated at the mom in the last episode, really got me mad. What was her name? Sarah?
Yeah.
She needs some help too. But I like Simon a lot. I do think the one thing about Simon though is like, I understand his perspective 100%, but I also have to say, when you fuck around with the prince, I don't know what you expected. Like, if you're gonna be fucking with the prince, and you know that he's a prince and he's in tabloids and he's got a whole family to think about. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what you were expecting out of this, but other than this exact scenario, not the video being sent out, but like eventually Wilhelm being like, yeah, I have to protect my family and like the royal line. Like that has to come first. I don't know what Simon was thinking that that wouldn't be the case.
I think it's because he's 16. I'm assuming he's 16 because they're in school for 3 years. So they're both
so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing he's 16. Maybe because he's 16, he's not thinking the same way that I would, but I would have been like, I'm cool with being your mistress, but I also need to make sure my tuition is always paid. And my mom's rent needs to be paid. Like there would be a cost for the secrecy for sure.
Yeah.
I would very early on learn how to turn this into some kind of financial support. But yeah, I'd be totally fine with being secret. But I guess because he's 16 and he didn't expect to be put in that situation, that maybe he's not prepared to be in that situation. But Simon's also somebody who's super trusting, and it makes it very difficult for you to always stay in his corner because he does so much stuff that's motivated by his trust. And you're like, but it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
He keeps giving people second chances, like what the sister said, which is why I like it how at the end, when Wilhelm says, I love you, he doesn't say I love you back. He just says, I hope you have a nice Christmas. Because he didn't put the trust back into him yet. I was like, oh, this is nice. I hope to see where this goes next.
So Stephanie, what were your thoughts on Simon?
I like him. I like his friends.
Like when they went to the soccer game together, that was fun.
So I thought that Simon's friends were very interesting because they, to me, felt like the best people to be dealing with this situation. Like, I feel like everyone else who was like around they're just caught up in this idea of like Willem being so important that they're all kind of like, I don't know, it's almost like they're acting out of character because they're around Willem. Whereas like his friends were like, listen, I don't give a fuck about that guy. Like, are you okay? You know? So I really liked his friends a lot. Like his one friend, Ayud, who was like, listen, Ayub. He's like, listen, you got a sex tape coming out, but that's not bad. You see what happened with Kim Kardashian? Money, baby. Like, I really feel like his friends were us. Like, you know, let's see how we can turn this to your advantage.
Yeah.
How can we make this work for you?
Let's make a profit from this somehow.
Yeah. And then like when his friends caught him beating up August because August owed him money, his friends were like, hey,
this isn't the move.
That was dumb. You still have to go to school here. You don't think this kid's gonna make your life fucking miserable if you beat him up? Like they seem to be the only people in the show that were like really actually thinking. And that's why I said I could watch a whole show about Simon and his life because he's got really cool, level-headed friends. He's got a mom who seems like she works her ass off. He's got a dad that even though his dad has addiction issues, he seems like he is really trying to be better and that he really has remorse for how much his addiction has affected his kids. So that's why I say, like, I just spend a lot of time in Simon's world. William's world is boring.
It is very boring. I totally watched the show if we got rid of Wilhelm. I mean, I guess you couldn't call it Young Royals anymore, but like, get rid of him. We just go through Simon's life and Simon finds a new boyfriend, someone more interesting.
Yeah, Simon and August would have been hot. Honestly.
No, it would not.
Wait,
That's disgusting, Mom.
Yeah.
No, I'm kind of into it. Like this, like August has this like real intense internalized homophobia, and he just slowly comes around to Simon and his class issues because he's like a poor now. I guess kind of a poor. He like could liquidate all of his art pieces, like his mom said, and pay tuition, but he won't. So that dude's stupid. That's on him. But he's like a poor now, and he can learn to be poor with Simon.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy that.
I'm just saying this. There's a picture, I will send it to you after we're done recording. There's a picture of Simon and August together, like just hanging out.
The actors.
The actors. They look good together. They look real good together. Both little curly haired boys, they look good together. But yeah, like Simon, when you think about Simon, he really is somebody that should be made for us to root for, because he is somebody who comes from a background filled with difficulty. He's made his way into a school that literally breeds royals. And he's going there because of his academic talent. And he's trying very, very hard to, you know, be something better, be something more, possibly move out of his small town. Because he says, you know, I like this place, but I want something more. And so he really is kind of like that rags to riches journey that is so classic in storytelling. But I think what makes it difficult at times to totally be on Simon's side is the fact that he sometimes loses the plot when it comes to him and William. Like, he knows what he wants out of his life. He knows where he's trying to go with his life. But as soon as William's involved, it's like he loses all of his resolve. And he's like ready to go along with whatever William has to say. And it's just like, you don't need to do that. You have to continue to assert yourself.
Well, he was in opposition when William was like, oh, the club sort of wants to accuse you of the whole drug thing.
Yeah, I feel like Simon pushed back a reasonable amount to things Wilhelm will say.
I would have pushed back more. But again, like I said, I'm a bad person. I would have been like, I will absolutely take the blame for this if you write me a large enough check. I know you've got it. So me and my money.
I look up all these scenarios. Are you getting money from the prince?
Listen,
you're like, I came here for one thing and one thing only, a check.
Look at my coin. Because
I don't blame
really,
you.
Simon's life is hard. His life is hard. And if he could get money to make him and his mom and his sister's life easier, why wouldn't he? And so I'd be like, you know, I can already tell that at any moment, everything that I want and I need and I desire is going to be subjugated to you and your royal connections. So I need to have something of my own to make it worth my while to be involved in this. And that means, and that means money, because there's really nothing else you can give me. I got into this school on my own, so I don't need you to get me into this school. And if I make good enough grades, I'm probably going to get into any university I want to. So I don't need you to get me there, but I need finances. I need that kind of backing, and you could get that for me. You could give me money. You could help open a couple of doors later on, and I need you to be willing to do that for me. I can't just keep laying myself down here because you're royal and I owe it to my country to let you get away with things. So, yeah, I feel like Simon, he's a little bit weak because even when he was saying, I don't think it's acceptable for me to take the fall, you could tell from the way he was reacting, like, I know you're still going to do it though. Like the way he walked away, he was like, man, I can't believe you're gonna do some bullshit like this. But honestly, he was like, I can't believe you're going to. And so he expected that he was gonna get thrown under the bus. And that's what really hurt, I think, because Willem did protect him by not having him take the fall for the drugs. So I think he honestly believed that Willem was gonna come out for him with the sex tape. And the sex tape really and truly is where Simon should have gotten all of his money. He shouldn't have talked to Willem about anything else but cash.
These crowns.
Yeah. Especially since Wilhelm was like, oh yeah, that's not me.
Yeah. I'm like, well, if it's not you, it's not me either, bitch.
Yeah, when Willem goes back to after he like gives his statement to the press, and he drives back to Simon's place, and he's like, can you come outside to talk? If I were Simon, do you have a check?
See? Because he really ruined things for Simon. Simon's in this school, and the school that he's in is it's a way for him to get ahead in life. Now, anytime somebody Google searches his name, his sex tape is going to come up. You kind of ruined this boy's future.
Oh yeah, I would be demanding a lifetime amount of money.
Yeah.
Like, so I am owed to the millions, sir. millions, and I deserve
And
it.
also, he's a teenager. So he's a teenager with a sex tape. I mean, if there was nudity involved, it probably wouldn't be on the web because it would be child pornography. But because they had boxers on, it's allowed to be online forever.
Which
and
is
it's
still,
just like, it's still bad. It's still bad, but it's just like, because there's no nudity, the authorities aren't going to arrest whoever posted it online. And so he's like, okay, my reputation is ruined before I was even an adult, before I even had a chance to do anything. I need you to pay for me to have an opportunity to do something, because chances are I'm going to have to leave here in order to be able to live my life.
right.
And the fact that Simon doesn't do that, and he's just like, I just trust you're going to make it right, Willem. I know you're going to do it because you've been doing everything right so far.
That's his
She's like,
fault.
So, Sarah.
I don't like her. I liked her up until episode 6.
Agreed.
I hate the way that they wrote Sarah. Sarah was written so inconsistently, and it just really bothered me to my core.
Poorly.
Like, okay, I feel like on the one hand, I don't know enough neurodivergent people to say that Sarah is an accurate representation of somebody with Asperger's and ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I feel like her character was just so inconsistently written that it was hard for me to keep her neurodivergency in the back of my mind as she was doing the things she was doing. Like, more than anything, she just came across as like somewhat awkward, maybe. Mm-hmm. But the way that she could hone in on certain social cues and not on others, and it really annoyed the fuck out of me. So the same episode, it was the episode that was the parents' weekend. They're in the church, Simon is singing, Willem is fucking staring holes into the back of his skull, and Sarah is like, okay, you two are fucking? Is that what's going on here? Because I'm getting the vibes. I can feel the crosshairs. Mm-hmm. But then when they go to sit at the table and they start talking about the horses, she's like, yeah, I ride horses morning, noon, and night. I ride a horse named Rousseau. I love Rousseau. He's my favorite horse. She doesn't like riding horses. She never rides him. And it's just like, those two didn't say anything about being together, liking each other. They didn't say any of that to you. And you managed to pick up on a subtle social cue. But when people are giving you the eyes to be like, please stop talking right now because you're ruining things, she just keeps going and just keeps going and keeps going. And it's just like, can you pick up social cues or not? I don't understand what the fuck's going on here.
Well, sometimes I put my foot in my mouth.
And then, like, when August kissed her in the stable, and then she goes back to have the sleepover with Felice and her friends. Mm-hmm. When August kissed her, her reaction was very, like, appropriate. Like, what is going on here? Why are you kissing me? What the hell is, what?
And
but then
like, again.
Yeah, but then, like, she's in the room and she sees the Polaroid of August. She's like, oh my gosh, I love him so much. And then, when Felice is talking about, the dick game's kind of weak, I'm kind of ready to break up. She's like, I didn't want to tell you this, girl, but he kissed me, and I, maybe you want to dump him. It's like, what? You're like conniving now.
Well, we found out she was conniving after she went to go visit August.
Yeah, it's like
she was like, I want to be with you.
So on the one hand, she can't pick up enough social cues to know it's making it awkward for Felice for you to tell her parents how much she hates horse riding. But you're conniving enough to kind of go behind Felice's back and start making out with her boyfriend and, kind of working to break them up. Like, I just don't get it. And then in the end, when she's like basically telling her family, like, you guys are a bunch of whores and I want to do better than you in life, I'm like, where did you pick this up at?
Oh,
like, who are you? Like, your character has completely morphed now.
Well, she did sort of get on that sort of tantrum in the first episode when she was at dinner with Mom and Simon.
She had the one thing where she's like, can we have good posture? Which I agree, because Simon has atrocious table manners. Like, literally the way he eats food.
The chewing with the mouth open. sends me straight to hell.
He's just
I can't do it.
He eats like somebody's gonna snatch his plate away from him. Like he really does.
I could not go on a date with him. No, there'd be no second date.
I
That's
mean,
so
you
gross.
know, we would have to eat hand-like food. Like we couldn't eat from actual dishes. We'd have to eat stuff like hot dogs and corn dogs and like stuff you can hold in your hand.
Not even that, because he was still chomping with his mouth open. Fucking nasty.
Yeah, Simon is just really, yeah. I don't know what the hell's going on with Simon. Him and his manners.
I think he's just a dumb teenage boy. I think that's what I'm going to chop everything up to. And Sarah's just an impressionable girl who's like sad and really wants friends. But I don't understand, like, there's a point when Simon was like, I like you for you. But I was like, but who is she? Because I feel like we barely knew her. Like, I feel like I didn't get a grasp of what her personality was besides horses. And then she became friends with Felice and then became like a Felice copy. So like, I don't understand what her personality was.
Became a white female after a point.
Huh?
It definitely became single white female after a point.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really old reference. But it's a movie from the 90s where this girl basically moves in a roommate to another girl and then slowly tries to take over her. Yeah, very much that vibe.
Yeah. It was weird. So I guess I hope they make a season 2. Like, I'm curious. Not a season 3. Like, I'll watch 2. I won't watch season 3. I'll put it that way.
Not unless it significantly increases in quality in season 2, then I might go for season 3, but they would have to really up the ante for season 2, and not in a skinship way, like literally in a writing way. The writing has got to be better, because I understand Sarah wanting to have friends, and by being friends with Felice, I feel like she feels that Felice has everything she wants, which is friends. Felice is popular. Felice gets things that Sarah wants. Felice has a horse. Sarah loves horses. Felice gets to be Lucia because everybody likes Felice. And Sarah wants to be liked by everybody, and Felice lets her be Lucia. Like, there's just so many things that Felice has that Sarah wants. And so why not her boyfriend as well? Like, I could see Sarah wanting to take over Felice's life. But I guess what I don't understand is, like, with Sarah, and again, the neurodivergent thing, like, does she recognize that that's what she's doing? Is it inadvertent? Is this part of her neurodivergent kind of affectation? Is that causes her to just want to copy people? Like, I just don't understand. And I feel like the writers didn't give us enough for us to work with to understand it.
I agree. I wish I understood her a bit more too. At least she's getting something from this friendship, though, in terms of like monetary value. I mean, maybe not cash, but she's getting dresses, you know, she's getting stuff.
Yeah, she's getting dresses and hair barrettes and horrible back ties. Yeah, she's got a whole fucking horse that she gets to ride once. Oh my gosh. Elephant in the room.
I love that for her.
Elephant in the room. I know that we try not to talk about people's bodies and things that are not under their control, because that's really a shitty way to be. But in the past, you and I have talked about makeup, hair, costuming, those kind of things in shows. I would really like to understand, do people in Sweden feel like the characters in this show look rich?
Okay, so I think I was reading about this earlier. The showrunners specifically tried to not hire like super glam people and do super glam makeup for the show. They tried to make them look like real people and real students.
Real teenagers.
That would make sense if these were not wealthy teenagers. Like, Felice is the richest kid in school. It's said very early on that her parents are the wealthiest family in the school. And so I would expect the wealthiest girl in school to have immaculate skin and hair because her family can afford it. She can afford to buy all the treatments. She can afford to see the dermatologist. She can afford to see the hairdresser. She is, for all intents and purposes, almost a fellow young royal because of her access level when it comes to resources. And the way they had her looking, I was just like, her foundation doesn't match her neck. Like, who is styling this girl? Her hair looks broke off. Like, she just looks bad. And I don't understand it. Her roommate looks more glamorous than she does. What's going on here?
They made her look frumpy for some reason.
Right. And she's the richest girl in school. Her mom like walks in with a Louis Vuitton bag, like, oh, this doesn't fit me. Here, you can have this.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom shops Louis Vuitton, but your makeup looks like you're a what's going on here?
Yeah.
So I
creative choice.
I get wanting to have perfect people. That makes sense to me. I could totally see being like, I want these to look like regular teenagers. But they just really did Felice dirty. Like, she, out of everyone on that cast, I feel like costuming wise, they did her really shitty. Makeup wise, they did her really shitty. Hair wise, they did her really shitty. And I was just very underwhelmed with what they did with her. Also, like, this school, is this considered luxury in Sweden? Because this school looked basic as shit. It looked poor. Stephanie's high school looks fancier than where they
Yeah, you're calling Sweden poor.
I know Sweden is not poor. That's why I'm saying, like, is this a matter of the budget? Like, they didn't have enough budget to make the. When I think of maybe it's because I am used to American media. When I think of a boarding school, I think of the school that the one guy from Glee came from before he went to
the something war.
Right, an academy?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, I think of that where like there's like big paintings and very tall ceilings and wide hallways and like all the classes have like wood built-in bookshelves and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck Hogwarts. You know, I think of I think of like luxury when I think of a boarding school for wealthy kids. This place felt like a public high school, except for they had like living quarters.
Yeah, I think that was a weird like visual choice that they decided to go with. Like, they're royals, but they look like real people. And it's like, but they're not. They're royals. They're all rich. I expect them to look rich and be in a very wealthy looking school. Like the classrooms looked like a public school classroom. Like, they looked fine. They didn't look great. They looked fine.
Yeah.
I understand. You're right. That's a good point. It was very uninspired visually. This whole show, very uninspired.
So, like, I was telling Stephanie when they did the first title screen for Young Royals, I'm like, this feels very much like somebody inspired by like A24 and that kind of genre of like visuals. And I think having kind of poor surroundings makes it very easy to film stark images. Whereas if you're in like a super fancy gilt world, the images won't feel as stark. But it just really made this whole production feel very cheap.
Yeah.
So was not a fan, didn't like.
I liked Felice's character though.
Well, we haven't talked about Felice's character. We were just talking about makeup and hair and stuff. Yeah. But we can talk about Felice's character. Honestly, when we first started, I didn't think I was gonna like Felice. And then towards the end, I'm like, that bitch. Mm-hmm. She's a real one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She seemed to genuinely like Sarah. I think she did a very nice thing in trying to hunt down who did the video recording.
That was really hard. Noticing the purple dots, like those are very small dots. It's like, how do you know?
Like, you're a super perceptive, sis, because I don't think that I could look at a video and be like, there's some pixels missing in the left quadrant. Like, my mind would never go there.
Oh, me either. So good for her. But I liked it too.
But yeah, she was much more likable than I thought she was going to be.
Mm-hmm. I hope she gets more expansion in season 2 if they have one.
I hope so too, because I feel like I would like to see more of like her and her mother's relationship and some with her father, because I did definitely pick up on some weird vibes between them that I'm like, I would like to know more about this. Like, I have my own backcanon for her relationship with her parents. I kind of feel like her mom was like a former Miss Sweden, and her dad like made a bunch of money in tech or something. And so her mom married her dad, and her mom expected to have a daughter who was basically a carbon copy of her. And so her first disappointment was the fact that her daughter wasn't like a little blonde girl, even though she should have expected that because she married a black man.
Right.
And so she raises her daughter to believe like your hair needs to be straight like mine, even though her hair is naturally curly, and you need to go to the best schools like I do, and you need to present like I do, and you need to do the things that I did, like being Miss Lucia and wearing this dress and all the things that we do. And her daughter is just like, but that's not me. I can't fit in this dress. I don't want to do these things. I don't want to ride horses. I'm fucking scared of them. I want to be me. And I just find it very interesting, like how her mother continues to like push this, you can be like me, you can be like me, when her daughter, just on a physical level, is so totally different from her. And she seems like she cannot acknowledge that fact. Like even the clothes that she gives her are all clothes that are her clothes. Like the first dress she gives her is something that, oh, this is too big for me. I thought you would be able to wear it. And the second one is, this is a dress that I wore and that my mother wore. Like her mom really doesn't see her daughter. And so in a second season, I really would like to see kind of Felice and her family address that. And I want to see her dad fucking step into, because there's so many shows where like kids have a conflict with one parent and they never show the other parent being involved in it. And I would really like to see her dad kind of step in and be like, you knew I was who I was when you married me. My daughter is who she is, and you have to accept her. If you accept me, you have to accept her. And it just really feels like her mother does not accept her at all.
Right. I would love to see more of them. The scene where the mom was like, here, put on the dress. And she's like, it doesn't fit. I was like, ooh, okay. I peep this. All right. We've all been there. Okay. But I was also thinking too, just in general, like what are any of these characters' interests? What are their hobbies? What do they do? What do they talk about?
Simon likes music. I think Willem, he's a bit of a jock, but then again, I just don't think he does the rowing, but I guess he's not that into it.
Yeah, he only joined rowing because like.
And then August likes being evil and the leader.
I can't wait to talk about August.
And then Sarah likes horses, and Felice likes being popular. I think she likes reading. I think they were in a library.
And I think at some point they were alluding to the fact that Felice might have an ED.
That scene at the party.
The scene at the party, and also like the scene where her friend's like, well, I'm going to dinner. Do you want to go? She's like, no, I'm not going.
Oh, that's because she was going to go masturbate.
Yeah, you could do that later.
Well, she was like starting it, which to just a photo, clothed, soldier on, I guess.
Thank you. I was telling Stephanie, I'm like, listen, I know this seems like TMI, but when you go to college and you have a roommate, it is considered respectful to do that shit under the covers. Don't just be on top of the covers going to town.
Oh, wow. But should we get to the boy?
August, my favorite character in the whole show. August, baby, I love you. Even though you are an evil Joss Peck, I still think you're wonderful. I think you have so much promise. I am excited to see your character arc season 2. I think that you are perhaps the most interesting person in the room. And if you can find a way to assassinate Willem so that you can be the next king, I totally support you in that venture, because I think out of everyone on the cast, you are the most qualified one to be the one who is the president or king of the country. I love you so much. I like your hair. I like how much you're so intense about everything. You're my fave.
Okay. I thought he was a piece of shit. I'm
Me
glad
too!
I would say he's probably the most interesting character, though, on the show. Like, when I'm watching a show called Young Royals, I feel like this is what I want. Like, him.
Yeah. I thought they were all going to be somewhat Augusty.
Yeah. The show is a bunch of soft boys.
Pretty much were more like lackeys. They didn't really have their own character arcs, so I could barely remember anybody's name.
I know Nils.
But Nils wasn't one of the young royals.
No.
He was just a dude who got a blowjob and was bragging to his friends. And the girl was like, no, that's not how that went down. So yeah, August was the one. Okay. So we first meet August immediately before August did or said anything. I'm like, I don't like him. He feels untrustworthy. And
He was.
I was right.
He was. You were right.
Yeah, I was right. But like the vibes are off, especially when he was like, when Felice first walked in and she waved at Willem, and then August was like, I'm gonna marry her one day. And then I think Eric was like, yeah, but first you have to stop being a pussy hound. And I remember thinking, you're a bad guy. But then I started to watch his character over the show, and of all the characters, they wrote August with like the deepest backstory and the most interesting and like relevant motivations, because, and this is something that I'm fascinated with, they managed to kind of write a character who's a white supremacist without making you notice that he's a white supremacist. Yeah.
White supremacist.
I mean, he just kept calling him socialist boy, which I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah. Like society, the fact that the society's only qualification is you need to protect against the extinction of the noble families. I was like, this is very, very interesting the way this is coded. And I don't know if it's something where the writer of the show is like high key a white supremacist as well, but Steph and I were talking about it, about how like a lot of the
no one in the society like not white. Like there's gotta be like people of color in Sweden that own some land.
But like all the noble families are white people. Mm-hmm. And it's all about protecting the bloodline, making sure the bloodline keeps going. And a lot of the rhetoric here in America with a lot of white supremacists is about protecting the purity of the family and about protecting the white race from being overtaken by other people, brown people. Against a lot of the conservative rhetoric is that I just saw this on Twitter yesterday, classic Americans are going to be replaced by immigrants. So it very much is this idea of race and class extinction that is what causes people to have their motivations. And August is that dude. Like he totally believes that like the royals as they currently exist are in danger of being wiped out. And it's our job to cement our place in society.
So then why are you a fan of August?
Because he's interesting. Because he's interesting. Because Willem has no direction at all. Even though he's going to be the fucking king of Sweden, he has no direction at all. Doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's just like floating and bopping through time. You have August, who, number one, is saddled with like a big social taboo. His dad kills himself, which, you know, that's something that as a kid, you can imagine people whispering behind your back, like, I heard his dad killed himself. Like that's a lot to deal with. But then he's got a mother who is, you know, cavorting around with somebody who he feels is not as high class as his dad was. He feels like his mother is at fault for not helping his dad be able to stay alive. And then
that's sort of unsaid. You're going into that.
No, he said that. He said that. Yeah, when his mom came for parents weekend. Yeah. And then he's also poor, which he came from a wealthy family with royal titles that has inherited land, inherited art, and yet and still he's poor. And he feels like you're ruining something that I was born to have. I was born to be rich. I was born to be noble. I was born to be the best. I am the epitome of white royal blue blood. And all of the things that are meant to be my birthright are slowly being taken away from me. And he's on the verge of getting kicked out of school because he doesn't have the money to pay for school. And his mom's like, well, fucking sell some of your art, sell some land, do whatever you need to do. And you can pay this stuff 1,000 times over. And he's just like, I'll die before I give up anything that is my birthright. And so every single thing he does in this show is motivated by him wanting to protect his birthright and protect the thing that he feels like he was owed from the time he was born. And like I said, it's so interesting because that's exactly what white supremacists in America are like. I was born a white person. I am entitled to live a certain kind of life. And I'm going to fight anyone who keeps me from being what I was born to be, what I'm entitled to have. It's not called white privilege to me. It's called white right to me. And we need to make America great again by making America white again. And so
you got very passionate there.
I'm saying it because, like, when you watch August, the parallels are indistinguishable. Like, it is absolutely a 1-for-1. And that was what was so interesting, because I was watching it and I'm like, I feel like if August had been raised in a different home, if he hadn't been raised with royalty on his back, he would be a really good dude, because he's extremely driven and he's extremely social and he's super ambitious. And so if he had been born under a different set of moral circumstances, he could go so far and be so wonderful. But because of like the fact that his royal blood is the most important thing in his life, every part of him that's good becomes tainted because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Every single part of it. And it makes it so interesting to see what he does as he's slowly backed into a corner, as things keep getting tighter and the noose keeps tightening around his neck, and as his dreams of being this thing start to just go away.
He didn't have to film that video and post it, though.
He didn't have to film the video, number one. That's rude. That's not right. But the bodyguard should have been at the window to keep that shit from being filmed in the first place. And this is a loophole in the writing.
But also, why did they put down the blinds?
They didn't put down the blinds. There was no bodyguard at the window. Like, nobody's doing their fucking job. The fact that Willem was abandoned in a soccer field and his brother had just died, he's going to be the next king, and he had no bodyguard to take him home. Like, nothing makes sense here. No one's doing their job. The writing is shit. But August putting up that video is because, to him, that school is a microcosm of his place in society. That school is supposed to be the place where the most important people on the planet are given their greatness points, is where they're groomed to be great. And him having to leave that school would be confirmation that he's lost his place in that society and he can't handle it. So of course, he feels like Willem is the reason why I've lost the respect of my peers. He's the reason why I'm not going to be able to finish out my semester. He is my downfall. Felice, my ex-girlfriend, likes him better than he likes me. Like, it's all his fault. So he does something desperate because he feels desperate.
So he does something evil because he's desperate.
It's evil, but to him, he feels like it's deserved because so much of what he feels he should have, Willem is taken away from him.
And then he paid for his tuition, so he really had no justification.
He didn't find out his tuition was paid until he posted the video, though.
No, but that's when it's like, ooh.
Yeah, well, he can't think that far ahead. He was too proud to even tell Willem.
So is he really like an evil genius, or is he just...
No, he's not an evil genius. And that's the reason why he's so interesting, because he's not an evil genius. He's a guy who like really carries out his moral justifications to the very logical end in his mind. He is so certain of his place in society and what he says he deserves that he's willing to carry things out until their logical conclusion for him. And I find that
sound like this show has incredible writing.
August is written very well. The rest of the characters are not so much, but August is written very well because his motivations are so plain to see. So plain to see.
He definitely had the clearest motivations of anyone.
Yeah. So I hate that he looks like Josh Peck, because I really like Josh from Drake and Josh. And gosh, they look a lot alike. And I'm like, oh, you ruined this for me.
It's like Josh Peck if you like squished his head a bit.
Yeah. And also if you made him super muscular, because August is very, very muscular.
Is he?
Yes.
I don't remember him being all that.
Yeah, like in the rowing room, he was like taking pictures of himself without a shirt, and he's like ripped.
A little bit. He's like teenage boy ripped.
Yeah, well, you know, either way it goes, it was just really weird because I always think of Josh Peck as soft. And so it's just like, Josh Peck, but hard.
Hasn't Josh Peck been like ripped for like a decade though?
Yeah, I was like,
No, he's not ripped anymore. He's just soft now. Like he hasn't been large for a long time. He's just soft. Like he's thin, but he's a soft thin. There's no such thing as a soft thin.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Also, August is terrible in bed. Like he has all the villain characteristics. The scene where him and Felice were sleeping together and she was trying to like get herself off and he wouldn't let her. I'm like, you're a terrible lover.
Yeah.
You know, and then he was mad that she had her eyes closed, but it's like, well, what the fuck is she supposed to look at? The pillow? I mean, you're doing it doggy style. She can't see your face.
Right.
Yeah. Why are you mad? So yeah, probably he was insecure because he also has a small dick. So good job.
We don't
August.
know
Overall, they have really written your character very well. You got a small dick. Yeah, you have a small dick, you're super insecure, you're trying to make up for things, and also you are a white supremacist. You're my favorite character in the show. I love you dearly.
You can't speak.
Well, I don't have anything to add to that.
He's terrible, but I do think he's interesting, and he'd probably be a good study if you were like trying to do a study on characters in a show and you wanted to choose a show that's been popular recently, he'd be a good character study. I still don't like him though, and I think he deserves nothing but rusty nails and
Agreed.
jail cells.
Okay, well, I'll take August and you guys can have everybody else on the cast because
Why? He's not even.
I would follow August through 5 seasons. I just want to watch what happens. I just want to watch what happens.
This always happens. You always like the most evil character in the show. It doesn't even have to be like a character that's like, ooh, just a bit complicated. Just a straight up evil person. You're like, oh, that's great.
I do. I love a good morally flawed person.
I do too.
Yeah. So I want to propose how I would rewrite Young Royals because I was thinking about Willem very hard, and I'm like, what could we have done to change his story to make his story suitable to me? This is what I thought. Yeah, this is what I thought would have been better. I would have appreciated if Willem had been as kind of, I won't say evil, but as kind of confident as August. And a lot of his storyline was about he and August butting heads about being able to be the unofficial leader at school. Like, I would have enjoyed it more if, because Willem has a higher social position outside of the school, that starts to creep into his school life, and people kind of being like, yeah, whatever you say, I'll do whatever you want because you're about to be the king of Sweden. And August, instead of it being about kind of his, I'm so sad that I'm no longer the entitled, rich, noble kid that I should be. If it had been more of a power struggle between those two about being kind of the leader of the school. And also if Willem, in trying to be the leader of the school, is doing that because he feels like he's second place in his family, therefore he wants to make himself first place here. And so I would have liked to see more of the in-school dynamics being kind of at the forefront instead of more of the romance part of the story. I also would have liked it if they had not killed his older brother, but instead of his older brother being killed, his older brother had come out and renounced the throne because he had come out. And the parents were like, you're our last hope because your brother renounced his title because he came out before you. So you have to stay in the closet.
Wait, is the brother gay too?
We don't know. I'm rewriting this thing. So in the rewrite, the brother doesn't die. The brother just renounces his title in order to marry somebody that he loves. Maybe not even gay. Maybe he's like, I picked a commoner, and the royal rules like you can't pick a commoner. So he becomes the crown prince because his brother renounces rather than his brother's death. And so because of that, he has a lot of resentment because he feels like he was promised a life that was going to be a lot freer than what being a royal is. So he decides he's going to make the school kind of his test laboratory. He's going to practice being a monarch while being at school. And so a lot of the manipulations and stuff start to happen because he's training himself on how to manipulate people while he's in school in order to be able to manipulate political adversaries and stuff like that once he becomes king. Mm-hmm. And so it would have been an interesting story to see him like slowly start to lose his humanity and become a royal in this school, and Simon kind of being the only last little glimpse of his like soft, human, uncomplicated self. Like his relationship,
the crown, but
yeah,
Sweden.
pretty much. Like Simon is his only like real and true, I'm not trying to fuck you around relationship. And then as things start to get to a head between him and August and everything else, all of a sudden Simon is his only out, and he has to decide, am I going to lose my last shred of humanity in order to get an out and to get a leg up on August, or am I going to retain this one little piece of my humanity and maybe let August win this round and try to come back later or find another way out of this. And
right.
So I would have enjoyed seeing that, because then I could feel like this is a person who's meant to be a king, because he's making these moves.
That's a great pitch. I would have loved to watch that.
Thank you. This is what I feel like this is what we do whenever we watch these shows. We're like, rewrite.
Yeah.
I actually think I like the whole concept of maybe him not being completely prepared. Like, so I feel like what he could do is that we have him like act out a bit at school at first, because you were saying like how he went from sort of reactionary all the time to just calm for no reason. I think we could go off that like maybe he's still having a hard time adjusting. And like that scene where he was hugging the headmaster, it's like I feel like we should expand on that, and maybe she helps him sort of get his act together. And we could also expand on his friendship with Felice, and then also how maybe his more sheltering of himself affects his dynamic with Simon. And then also I feel like we should see more of how sort of their class difference and just how like just completely different they are, like socioeconomically, they should like play off that more. Because I really feel like the scenes between Simon and Will, they're good, but at the same time, sometimes it almost feels like they don't get to know each other. And I feel like we should build on like what they like as people, but also how the atmosphere around them sort of changes their dynamic and how they deal with it and sort of maintain a relationship.
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
Because it's very insta-love. Simon and Willem are very insta-love.
Like, what do they talk about? Seriously,
talk about these nuts. That's what they talk about.
No, they had a little scene. They talk about music. But like we don't even know if that's one of Willem's passions. So I feel like we should know.
Yeah, I think he's just attracted to Simon. He's like, Simon's cute. I'm attracted to the cute boy. Hey.
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like that's just all it was. Okay, so I give this show a strong 6 because I like August a lot.
I think I'll give it a 7. I think it was solid. I definitely see the appeal.
Okay. Cool. Well, now it's time for Samantha's rant, but today is not a rant. Today is a very serious day, y'all. Like what we're about to talk about, it's not the same kind of gossipy, opinion-laden stuff that we normally talk about. This really is a matter of life and death. So early on in our channel, we reviewed a show called Why Are You? And we talked about the show and how it was just kind of a mess because of COVID and everything else. But in the show, there was a guy whose real name was Toy Toy, and his character's name was Zen. And he's somebody, please stop. Yeah. So he's somebody who was a big character in the show. He wasn't a main character, but a few days ago, he was arrested by the police for murdering his girlfriend. A murder which he confessed to. It's not an assumption. It's not a guess. It's not people think he did it. Like he told the police, I did it. And it was a very gruesome murder. According to him, he was blind, drunk, got in a rage, and stabbed her 20 times. Now, his first story was that she was depressed, had gotten the knife, threatened to kill herself. And when he tried to take the knife away from her so she wouldn't hurt herself, that's when she tried to turn the knife on him. And this was self-defense. Now he's saying it's a blind rage thing.
Is this like Chicago where she's like, and then he ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times.
I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's just what's been disappointing about this whole thing, besides the fact that this young lady lost her life, and she lost her life literally like a day or two before her 25th birthday, which is an incredible tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
What's sad about this too is the fact that this is another instance where looky-loo culture, fan culture has caused people to no longer look at this as this young lady lost her life and we're putting somebody in jail for taking her life. It has become, you don't know what happened, and Toy Toy didn't mean to do it, and we have to clear the searches, guys.
20, if there was like a stab and it was like, there's like there's reasonable doubt if it's like one stab wound, right? I guess there's some reasonable doubt there. 20? No, that's some fucked up murder shit. That's the only option. 20 times? That's insane.
And there's photos, you can see him online, not that I recommend it, but there's photos of him in the apartment and then photos of him being let out of the apartment during the arrest. He doesn't seem to have any defensive wounds from what you can see of the photos. So in terms of her fighting back, it doesn't look like there was a significant amount of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not a fandom thing. And I want to be very clear about that. Like, this is somebody lost their life. This is a murder investigation. This isn't about fans trying to slander his name or fans being salty because he's in a different ship now than the one he was originally in. This is about a young lady named Pim who had a life, who wanted to live, and that was cruelly and callously taken away from her. And anyone who turns it into a fan war, or anyone who turns it into a let's clear the searches because we love our baby, you really need to reevaluate your life. And this is
especially for this man, Random Braces guy from Why Are You is the one you're capping for.
I mean,
man.
it is so hard to be a fan of anything, because I feel like people believe that if you are a fan, that means that you can only have positive feelings about something. You can never have any kind of negative feelings about anything. And people take that way too far. I can almost understand it when you say, well, I'm a fan of this group, I don't like this song. And the fans are like, well, don't tell people you don't like the song. I can almost understand that. But when we're talking about people, real people, their lives being affected, at some point we have to recognize this is not a stan issue. This is a criminal justice issue. And in criminal justice, no matter where you came from, what the focus needs to be is the victim and the crime. And it's the same with Toy as it is with fucking Chris Wu, who now they're saying his youngest victim may have been 12 years old.
12.
It's no longer a fan thing. This is about crimes. This is about, rape. This is about murder. It's about crimes. And we just can't talk about them the same way we would have, like, oh, did you see that such and such is dating such and such? Like, that's little gossipy bullshit. This is not gossip. This is not lighthearted. This is not anything having to do with being a fan or being in the entertainment industry. This really and truly is about somebody doing something horrible to another human being and needing to face the consequences for doing that.
Right.
So with that being said, I kind of find myself unable to really talk about this without talking about the fact that boys love is a really hard industry to support on a moral level. And not because of any of the gay stuff. That's not it. It's because there are so many bad actors coming into the space. And when I say bad actor, I mean like people doing bad things. There's so many bad actors coming into the space because of instant stardom. It's kind of like people going to be idols because they see the opportunity to be rich, or they see the opportunity to, you know, make their star more well known and move into other branches of entertainment. But there's a lot of people who get into being an idol, get into being in boys love, not because they have a genuine love for the genre or because they're focused on being an artist who can do any kind of role. They literally do it to be able to pick up fans, get fan gifts, you know, get endorsements, get the money, get the girls in the background, all those kinds of things. And because of stuff like this and some of the other things that we've seen and heard from people who've entered the boys love space, it just becomes more and more difficult to be like, I like that actor. Because unlike some other fields of fandom, I feel like we have a lot less to work with people in boys love. Like more than idols even, I feel like their images are even further curated.
Yeah. I agree. I think that there's a very similar thing happening with both K-pop and boys love right now, where the market has become so oversaturated with just, let's try to make as much money as possible, and therefore we're going to all do the same concept musically or the same concept as a story-wise. Like they're always university students and they're engineers, and they always do very similar story concepts. And as K-pop has been doing, like boy groups always try to be a BTS. Every girl group debuting tries to be a Blackpink, and that's it. That's all that we're given. So it's just become hard to like really wade through the good and the bad of boys love right now, because there's so much coming out at one point usually that it's like, what's even worth it? What's worth it to watch, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And boys love is a lot different of a commitment than it is for us to watch, like, or to listen to an album. Listening to an album, I can drive and have the album on in the background. I could do my work and, you know, have the album playing in the back. When it comes to a show, I really have to invest my time in a show. I can't look away.
Especially because it's subtitled. If it was in English, you could kind of have it on in the background a bit more, but we don't know Thai. We don't know Taiwanese.
Yeah. I don't speak Swedish. You know, even though I had one character that spoke exclusively in English, still, I don't speak the language. So I have to literally watch. I have to read. I have to try to comprehend. I have to follow plots. Like I really have to invest myself to be able to enjoy boys love. So already it is a very different connection we have with boys love actors than what we have with K-pop idols. Because like some groups, I don't know a single name of a person in that group. Nobody's name. I barely even know the name of the group. I'm just like, I like this one song. This song was cool. Whereas in boys love, it's like, okay, so the actor's name is this, and they've been in this project before, and their character's name is this. Like it's just it's a much quicker connection you make with that individual in a boys love than what you would for music. And because there are, again, these bad actors coming into the space, like it just makes it to where I feel like we're really going to start to see more negative news. Hopefully not similar to this. Hopefully not. Hopefully no one else is murdered. But we're absolutely going to we're going to start to see stories of fans who are being molested by boys love actors. We're going to start seeing a lot of, you know, background homophobia being exposed. We already had that with Love by Chance season 2. There's a lot more of these stories that are going to come out, because where there's a possibility for fame and riches, there's going to be bad people are going to find their way into the space, just like good people are going to find their way into the space. And we're going to see a lot more of the actions of these bad actors coming out.
Oh yeah.
So it's not a rant per se, but it's just more of an awareness that you guys, all of us, not just you guys, us too, we're all put in a space for us to be emotionally invested in these stories. The stories aren't good if you're not emotionally invested, honestly. And we have to really keep a check on our emotions and recognize we're watching a performance. We're always watching a performance. And we have to be able to separate our enjoyment of the performance and our feeling like we know this character, and understand that the people behind these things aren't the characters that we come to love and trust and enjoy. Because for fans to take up for a murderer, through his own words, to take up for a murderer, you've lost the plot. You've absolutely lost the plot.
Yeah, standing up for a murderer is quite ballsy.
Yeah. You would think that no one would go there, but people have not only gone there, they're staying there. They're 10 toes down there. And it's just, please move on. Please move on.
Yeah, that's stupid. All right. Well, I have a manga of the day, finally. I have a couple ready for the next few episodes. But I today have Fangs. It's a new Tokyo Pop publication. It is a vampire manga, finally. I found a really good one. Okay, so let me read the back. What kind of a guy is unlucky enough to get bitten and survive? As the sole survivor of a vampire attack, N wakes up to find that his hair has gone white as snow, and worse, he's developed a craving for blood. Fortunately, the Vampire Health and Welfare Organization, FANGS, is there to help with the transition, and the handsome Ichi steps up as his guardian and mentor. Swept up into a confusing and lonely new world where everyone seems to be hankering for a taste of his virgin blood, N must navigate the FANGS pairing system, an arrangement that sets up compatible vampires as mutual feeding partners and partners in other ways as well. But what happens when N panics and declares that he'll be paired with Ichi? And what does the brooding, rough around the edges Ichi make of his spunky, outgoing new charge? So basically it's N, it's mirrored, sorry. N, it's mirrored, it's so weird. And then Ichi, it's really good. I don't know how many volumes there's gonna be. This definitely doesn't wrap up. It's not a standalone. But like, I have searched far and wide for great vampire manga. If y'all don't know, vampires, they're my jam. I love me some good vampire content. No, that one Fluke movie was not good enough. But this is so well written. It's definitely a very fresh take on vampires, in my opinion. As someone that's read a bunch of vampire stuff, I feel like this is so good in that it does something so simple but very new with vampires. It keeps the stuff I like about vampires. Let me tell you, my biggest gripe with Twilight, it's nothing other than that I hate that they don't have fangs. They have fangs in here. They still drink blood. There's gay sex in here. It's like each chapter, it's like he meets a new vampire that Ichi is friends with, basically. And he like learns about them and their way of life and like how each vampire is so different from one another still. It's so good. And the art, I mean, the cover alone, I mean, this is some art. This is like real good drawings. So
you just opened a page with a butt spread open.
Are you serious?
Yes. You're like, this is art.
Okay. Here, good art. Skateboard. All right, Sam, do you have any Instagrams of the day?
I do have Instagrams of the day.
Okay, great. We should move on.
Okay. So the first Instagram I have is the Instagram for the actor who plays Simon. His name is Omar Rudberg, and he's a singer. And his Instagram is official Omar, no spaces. So it's OFFICIAL OMAR, official Omar. And he's cute. He gives me like young Bruno Mars vibes a little bit. His music is cute. It's not anything that I would look for if I hadn't known him from this show, but it's passable. It's passable. Also, he was a member of another group called FFO&O. It was like Felice, Oscar, and Omar. So they have some videos on their channel that are like 1.9 million views if you want to look at some of his work from further back, like from 4 years ago. Then the guy who plays Willem, his name is Edvin Writing, and his Instagram is his name, no spaces, EDVINRYDINGS, Edvin Writings. And both of them have a little under 1 million followers. I'm sure that Omar is going to be over 1 million followers very soon, because when I took the screenshot yesterday, he was at 997. Then we have August, who you know is my fave, and his Instagram is his name, which is Malt Gardinger, and it's or Malte, I guess, MALTE period GARDINGER, Malte Gardinger. And he doesn't have any followers. He's got 177,000, which is surprising. But of course, like if you're a villain type, people tend to not want to follow you because you're playing a villain. And then the last Instagram I have is actually not one of the guys. It's one of the girls. And it looks like I did not do a screenshot of her. So her Instagram is, this is the Instagram for Felice, if anyone's interested. Her Instagram is Nikita Ugla, I guess. I think maybe Ugla. But it's NIKITAUGGLA, Nikita Ugla. And she also doesn't have very many followers either. And so if you want to follow any of them, you're more than welcome to do so. But those are the Instagrams for Wilhelm, Simon, August, and Felice.
Nice. Oh, she posted about Pride. We stand. There's a photo of her. Oh my God, I hate that this is mirrored. It's driving me fucking crazy. Yeah.
So next Boys Love that we will be reviewing, because honestly none of the new Boys Loves have really caught our attention. I thought about reviewing Why Destiny, but I need to hear more about it first.
I forgot that even came out.
Yeah, I think it's over now. But anyway, next Boys Love is Yuri on Ice.
Woo! Anime.
It felt appropriate. Yeah, well, we're closing out the Olympics, and what's a better way to close out the Olympics than doing a little Olympic figure skating?
Right, even though it's the Summer Olympics.
Doesn't matter. Fuck what you heard. We're not gonna wait. We're not gonna wait another year for the Winter Olympics to show up. Sorry. Possibly though, by the time the Winter Olympics do arrive, we'll be in time for the Yuri on Ice movie. So.
Oh, that movie's been in production. It's been coming soon, like CL's album has been coming soon, if you know what I mean.
The shade.
It is. Listen, bitch, CL, time is ticking. We about to fight, seriously, in the streets, her and I. Don't get me started. Anyways, yes, we're gonna be watching Yuri on Ice.
Yeah. So that is what we'll be watching next, which we're excited to do because it was recommended for us to review it a long time ago when Mason first wanted to start doing some of the gay anime. Yuri on Ice was a title that immediately came up, and you know, I feel like while Yuri on Ice may not be what everyone thinks of when they're thinking of gay anime, if a lot of you are thinking of some other OVAs that are out there, still this is a very good place to be.
Yeah.
It's as good a place to be as some of the other ones that we've watched.
I think Yuri on Ice is just one that, like, there was never a good time for it. And and I felt that it's like older and people have kind of talked it to death. So, but it's been a few years now, so I'm excited to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since it came out, so I don't remember too much.
I look forward to talking about it on a purely surface level. I look forward to Mason really getting into the nitty gritty and particulars about animation. And I look forward to both of us disagreeing on several things.
Oh, because the animation episodes have not not resulted in us agreeing on anything. But yeah, the animation in Yuri on Ice is like all over the place, and there will have to be a tangent. I'm just thinking about annoyed.
I just appreciate that people can tell that we're real friends because of the fact that we can get so annoyed with each other on the animation.
Oh yeah, what was the last one we did Dokusei where it was like
yeah, between Dokusei and Given.
Yeah, you were trying to be as nice as about your disdain for both of those. And I was just there like, they're amazing.
The fact that like I feel like the first Given, after watching the second one, I'm like, I really did the first one wrong because it was so much better than the second one. But I just was like,
I will boring. I think I can understand your opinions on Given now. I think the thoughts and feelings about Dokusei are unfounded, and I will fight you tooth and nail on that.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll take that. I'll take that because the fact that you now understand me when it comes to Given really makes me happy because it makes me feel like I wasn't just slandering your fave on purpose.
I mean, Given I had like an emotional connection to, but I understand that it's like very boring and not much happens. If that show entirely hinders on, do you like the song in episode 9? Yes or no? Did it change your life? For me, it was yes. For you, it was a no. So it's like, okay, well, the entire show built to that one song and then it was over. So, ooh, I keep moving the chair. But yes, Yuri on Ice.
Maybe that's the reason why Given 2 didn't really stick.
Oh yeah, because the music was
Yuri on Ice it is. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. See you later. Bye.